Part 2. So Jen ended up getting diagnosed with stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma, and it also was on the right side. It also was in her lymph nodes, and she was advised to do a double mastectomy and do chemo and the radiation. And that was really devastating to hear. Because she was healthy as healthy. We have spent so much money going to Whole Foods and organic this and organic that, and her family history is like healthy, and just like all this is just came out just like, what? Like out of the blue, just like, what the shit is this? But she's a fighter. She wears war paint. So it just, got that news, and next thing you know, she was scheduled for her double mastectomy. And she verbalized being worried, but she didn't outwardly seem like scared. She's just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what it takes. Get over this. Go back to normal. Because before she got diagnosed, we had a trip planned to go to Europe, France, Spain, Portugal. Side note. So when we're planning a trip, in which by we, I mean she was planning a trip and I just had to show up and, pay my portion. She was just like, hey, do you mind if we do this in France? And I was just like, baby, we travel all this way. I'm not going to tell you no to anything. And like, if you don't have that in a significant other or a travel partner, maybe just get rid of them. Or not travel with them ever, because like, can you imagine flying from America or just across the world and be like, oof, I don't want to do that. I'm like, get out of here. What the shit are you talking about? So she went in for the double mastectomy, and I was working in Reno at the time, and one of her parents were there, aunt, uncle, and her cousin Nikki, I believe maybe her sister, I can't recall. And when she was in recovery, I got to FaceTime with her, and she was kind of loopy, like coming out, kind of anesthesia. I don't think she was swaying like Stevie Wonder, but like she had a little swagger to her. And she was like, Kevin? I'm like, yes, baby. She's like, do you love me? I'm like, of course I love you. She's just like, buy me a pony. I'm like, you're clearly on drugs still. We'll talk about it later. And with doing the double mastectomy, they give you the choice of, you could just be flat, or you could get tissue expanders in to get silicone boobs later on. And like, we talked about it. She's just like, what do you think I should do? I'm just like, well, fitness has always been a big part of life. Like, you should do, make sure you're able to keep up your aerial fitness and CrossFit and everything else. But if you want boobs, get you some boobs. If not, you can get like a sweet tattoo on your chest. So she ended up doing the tissue expanders and whatnot. And and with that, you kind of, I was led to believe you could choose like what size you want. And I was like, babe, like, what size you want to get? She's just like, I think I'll go back being a full C. And I never worked at Victoria's Secret or any kind of bra shop, and I don't know how to measure boobs or really dictate the size. I can't eyeball it. I know what they feel like, but that's about it. But I don't think she ever like was a full C. And I was like, I don't know, babe. I don't know, but worry about that later. So she chose to be a full C. And when they do that, they pump up the tissue expanders to a size and a half bigger than they should be. And that does lead for a lot of funny moments, which that'll be the funny Jen story at the end of the video. So she got the tissue expanders, and then over time they pumped them up, and she had to start chemo. And she had your typical side effects from having chemo. You know, the fatigue, like the bone pain, the nausea, and she was, you know, just real tough. Like, she never really complained a lot. She was just like, oh, this sucks, you know. And you really, tough times, you really find out who your friends are. And like, she has a lot of good friends. I have a lot of good friends. We have a lot of mutual good friends. But there's 4 individuals, like many people helped out during this time. But one like really like super thoughtful thing out our mutual friends, Ryan, Jessica, Mark, and Courtney. They sent her a care package with all these like natural organic remedies for like nausea and this and that. And our good friend Dave and Cree sent her a package. So when you have chemo, when they do it through a port, her port was over here. Yeah, Dave and Cree sent her like a little pillow thing to rest her arms, and it was a little, like another little pillow thing that you put on your seatbelt, so the seatbelt doesn't rub against your port. And you know, those little things like the anti-nausea, ginger chews, and the little pill thing, that was a huge help. You know, it was like one last thing to deal with. Ooh, I cannot keep it together. Yeah, so, you know, she had the fatigue and the nausea, and I think the big thing that I experienced with her was the hair loss. So at this time, for some crazy idea, I thought I could have a beard as good as James Harding. Come to find out, I don't have good facial hair genetics. So I grew out this wannabe James Hardy beard. And like, you know, she would take my comb or my brush, and like she would brush my beard, and like I'll brush her hair. And she got out of the shower like one afternoon, and you know, I was helping her brush her hair, and I look at the brush, and it was just full of her hair. And the whole time, like, you know, before she got diagnosed and the double mastectomy and the first couple times she did chemo, like she never seemed sick. It was always her same self. She always wanted to work out and eat the same and this and that. She never seemed sick at all. Like, I'm telling you, zero. But, you know, like, when I saw all that hair, I was just like, yeah, this was real. And like, you know, I took a stroke and I was looking at it, and she could see me in the mirror. And she's like, wow, my hair is coming out. I'm like, yeah. So she picked up her phone, called her friend that's a hairstylist, called her good friend Tracy, which I will speak on about her later, how fucking awesome she is. And they came over, she put on her war paint, red lipstick, pulled her hair back in a ponytail, clippers came on. We're also FaceTiming with her family at this point. She started doing up the back, took off the ponytail, and she started crying. You know, like most girls, if we could even say that anymore. You know, like, she loved her hair, and like she took really good care of her hair. She took really care of her whole self, her whole body, her whole human. And she started crying, and I'm trying to keep it together. then once her head was shaved, and like I looked at Tracy, and Tracy looked at me, it was like, shit, you look hot as fuck with a shaved head. I'm like, this is all right. And we cried, hugged, and smiled. We took a photo, all that stuff, and I reassured her, like, she's still like super sexy, and I love her the same. And then her friend that was a hairstylist, I forget her name, and Tracy left, and same with her, and she started crying a little bit more, and I'm holding her, and I'm like, baby, it's just hair, it'll grow back. And she used my words against me. She's just like, if it's just hair, why don't you shave your head? I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, don't talk about it, be about it, just as you said. I was just like, shit, I will. I'll shave my head. But right when I was about to do it, when I got back to Reno, excuse me, I was looking in my mirror, had my scissors, and about to take a big chunk and just whack it off. And she called me, she's like, no, I love you with your hair, don't shave your head. I'm like, I won't, but I'll cut most of them off, which I did. You have to support your people. I believe the hieroglyphics said, no, not the hieroglyphics, dilated peoples. It says, worst comes to worst, and peoples come first. You have to hold true to that. For the call to action of this video, Jennifer and Biggie Smalls probably said it best. Jennifer was like, ladies, check your titties. And Biggie Smalls says, ladies, rub your titties if you love Big Papa. And it's time for the funny Jen story of the video. So when she got her tissues expanders filled up to, I think it was like, it wasn't a double D, whoever's like a D, maybe it was a double D, I don't know, they're big. And we were at the Sparkling in Las Vegas off of Rainbow, and our buddy Eric was in town from Arizona, and we met him, and he got there before we did, and he's sitting down, and she goes up to give him a hug, and just straight whack him in the eye with her side boob. He was like, oh. And he's like, oh, sorry, Eric. Like, these things are big. I don't know how they control them. They're just everywhere.